What does Governor Katie Hobbs want to get done during her 4th year in office? And will she set aside her record-breaking veto stamp during this election year? Governor Hobbs tells us right now. Also on Sunday Square Off, the U.S. Department of Justice wants to get its hands on Arizona's voter rolls. Secretary of State Adrian Fontes is telling them to pound sand. The top elections journalist explains why that's just one of the looming battles over your vote in the November elections. Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs opens her 4th year in office on Monday with the ceremonial State of the State speech to a joint session of the legislature. Hobbs and most of the lawmakers in the room will be up for re-election in the fall. Presumably, they'd like to brag to voters about accomplishments. Will we see compromise or hardball between the Democratic governor and the Republican majority at the Capitol? Joining us now is Governor Katie Hobbs. Welcome back to Square Off and Happy New Year.
You too.
I want to start with news of the week.
Yes.
The killing in Minneapolis of an unarmed American citizen by an ICE officer. There have been reports that ICE could deploy in Phoenix in coming weeks, the way it has in Minneapolis and other American cities. Would you try to keep ICE out of Phoenix?
First of all, I saw the video of what happened in Minneapolis, and it's horrific. There's 3 kids without a mom now, and it's a community that's been reeling for quite some time. So this is just an added, just terrible incident that's happened. We've been in contact with the administration. I can say that I have nothing to report about increased activity. We want to make sure we're getting in front of rumors. I'm not going to operate on rumors and speculation. And if there is something to report about what we know, we will do that to make sure Arizonans have accurate information.
What could you do if you wanted to keep ICE out of Phoenix?
Well, and that's the thing. I can't, right? If they're going to come in, they're going to come in. But I've been really clear my position. You know, the president ran on going after criminals. And what we're seeing now with a lot of this escalation in ICE activity, it's not making communities safer. They seem to be responding to some deportation quotas, doing indiscriminate roundups of people that are, you know, not breaking the law, and they're contributing citizens in their communities. They are dreamers. It's not making us safer, and I've been really clear that I want them to focus on making us safer.
That's a big flip from where you were on this show. I think when we last spoke in June or July, you said President Trump's border enforcement plan was working. You were able to find common ground with the Trump administration.
I want to be clear. When I talk about border enforcement, what we're seeing with immigration enforcement is not border security. We've been focused on going after drugs, illegal weapons, the traffickers, the smugglers, and we've been successful. And we've worked with the federal government in that operation, and I'm hoping to continue that.
So at best, what could you do if ICE came to town?
We are certainly having conversations with our National Guard, with the Department of Public Safety about how we can respond and do everything we can to make sure that our communities remain safe and orderly.
But you don't want them here, do you?
Well, I want them to focus on making us safer. I want them to go after the criminals, and that's not what we're seeing.
Okay. Let's turn to the State of the State speech, this year's legislative session, your 4th. You are on a collision course with the Republican majority over money. How far to go in adopting the tax cuts in President Trump's spending plan. You've proposed a middle-class tax cuts package, which very cleverly is basically part of President Trump's bill. Republicans want to adopt the entire federal tax cut package. What's your position on that?
Well, the entire package has a really big price tag, and I think we can all agree that Arizonans are struggling with increased costs, medical costs, groceries, and they need some relief. And the middle class tax cut I proposed, which implements some of the federal tax cuts for Arizonans, is a good ground to start with, and I think we can all agree that should happen. The entire package comes with a much bigger price tag, and we need to figure out how we're going to pay for that, and we can do that in budget negotiations, and that's what I'd like to see happen.
How large is that price tag?
The entire package is in excess of $500 million.
If it were adopted in addition to what you want, This
The middle class tax cut portion is about half of that.
Half of that. It seems like there's a lot of pressure to get this done early on to align or not with the federal tax code, because that creates a lot of confusion.
Right,
for
absolutely.
individuals and
People are
businesses.
filing taxes right now, and they need that certainty when they go to file.
And so will you call a special session to get that done, like right off the bat? Republicans want that.
If we can get agreement, there's no reason to call a special session. If we can get agreement, get it done with an emergency clause, we can enact it right away.
Okay, we'll have to watch that in the first week. Are you going to call for that right on Monday?
Yes, yeah.
Let's move to education. Time's running out to renew Prop 123. I think the money to backfill it, which has been done, does that run out next year to keep that going?
Last year, it was in the 26 budget, which we're in right now, it was, we just rolled it over to the general fund.
Can that happen next year or not?
Well, you'll find out on Friday when we release our budget.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Prop 123 funnels $300 million a year to K-12 education, public schools, and charters. So what is the plan to get it done this year?
Look, a renewal of Prop 123 will give hundreds of millions of dollars to our public schools that need it. It will help with our teacher shortage. It will help repair crumbling school buildings and facilities and give our students the chance they need to succeed. And we have a once-in-a-decade opportunity to do that without costing the taxpayers anything, and we should. And we've been having conversations. I know there's going to be a big push to get this done so we can get it to the voters in November. And voters have shown over and over again that they support funding our schools, and we need to get them a proposal that they'll pass.
So you think you can get on the ballot in November?
Yes, yeah.
In your first 3 State of the State speeches, you called on the legislature to rein in ESAs.
Yes.
The legislature has done nothing.
Right.
Are you going to take one more shot at it on Monday?
Well, look, just because the Republicans, and it is the Republican majority who refuses to budge on this, don't see a reason to rein in this out-of-control program, doesn't mean that we stop fighting for that accountability, which taxpayers deserve. This is now grown to $1 billion in our budget annually, and we have seen repeated reporting, a lot from this station, of the abuse and fraud that and ways that people are spending this money that is not in line at all with educational intent. And I am hopeful that this is the year that Republicans decide to bring some much needed accountability into this out of control program.
Do you have any leverage?
We will.
Because hoping for that, waiting for them to decide, hoping they'll decide has not worked for 3 years.
Well, I mean, we'll come to that in budget negotiations, but you'll certainly see in our budget proposal that that's a piece of how we pay for the other priorities.
Last year, Republicans talked about referring to the ballot a constitutional amendment that would protect vouchers.
Right.
Protect school vouchers. Would you oppose that if they referred it to the ballot?
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to politicize. I think the biggest concern is that they want to couple that with Prop 123, which would unnecessarily politicize something that is a common sense solution to education funding issues. So whether they send that to they send a lot of things to the ballot that I don't support, and they might do that with ESAs. My biggest concern is that they don't do that and bog down Prop 123. We need a clean, bipartisan Prop 123 renewal to go to the ballot.
Okay, we are going to keep on talking when we come back.